And welcome back to B Movie Euphoria's reviews of IRS Media films. IRS Records was started by Miles Copeland III, who produced some of the most popular bands of the 80s, like REM, the Go-Go's, the Fine Young Cannibals, the Cramps, Gary Newman, Oingo Boingo, Buzzcocks, the Bangles, Wall of Voodoo, the Damned, the Dead Kennedys. If you know any of those bands, and I know you do, Josh,
I
but
know a few. I know a few. Yeah, yeah.
but this record company was incredibly successful throughout the 80s, and Miles Copeland was just getting all that money. Ooh. And then the 80s started dying down, and he was like, well, I do have all this money. Maybe I should also make movies. So he started IRS Media with a guy named Paul Collickman. And in 1989, they started pumping out movies, and they kept pumping them out until about 1996. So we have roughly around 25 to 35 IRS films. So for this series, we are going in chronological order as far as when the films were released. Some of them are well known, like what's the clown one? Shakes the Clown.
Oh yeah, yeah.
That's fairly well known. And one has finally made it to the Criterion Collection. Right now, we're talking about the movie, the fourth film to come out from IRS Media, and that is Genuine Risk.
Let's see if you got what it takes. Shit!
Genuine risk.
Oh boy. Oh boy.
There was so much fucking jazz in this.
Oh
Did
my
did
God.
was some of that from IRS Records or was that just all for the movie?
It was
Mm-mm.
very similar to Circuitry Man, because that was
Okay.
also that also had a very kind of jazzy score,
Mhm.
and that was also the music was also done by Deborah Holland.
Okay.
So Deborah Holland did the music for this film. She also produced the music for Circuitry Man, and she also did like four other IRS films.
Okay.
And her connection to IRS is pretty big. So she was in a band called Animal Logic, which was her and Stuart Copeland, Miles Copeland's brother,
Mhm.
who was also in the Police. He was the drummer for the Police. And Animal Logic was produced by IRS. It's clear that Miles Copeland took Deborah Holland and was like, hey, you work for me anyway. Why don't you score this movie and make a jazzy,
Mhm.
smooth?
Well, I definitely enjoyed it and it definitely kind of lent the film a little bit of a film noir feel.
Yeah, so the plot of the movie is basically we have Peter Berg as Henry, who's he's a big old loser. He's terrible at betting on horses, which he does all the time. Multiple people are just coming up to him and punching him because they're like, "You owe me money," and then punch him right in the gut.
Mm-hmm.
Been busy.
Yeah, busy. Yeah, me too. In fact, I gotta go, so I'm gonna talk to you later, maybe? Right?
And that it seems like a daily occurrence with him, kind of.
Well, and before that, he was in jail
Yeah,
because he had a gun. He didn't even shoot anybody.
but at the same time, he's very cool. He has that kind of cool vibe, that 90s cool vibe where he's like touching his mouth a lot and like
Very confident. Yeah.
so he's down on his luck. He's in the movie kind of opens with him losing
Mhm.
like another horse.
Well, doesn't the movie open establishing the villain
Oh yeah, yeah.
first? That because I really enjoyed that like opening with dragging a poor loser into the chair in this big
Another loser.
building. Yeah. Paul Hellwart.
Paul Hellwart, who's played by Terrence Stamp, who people would know him as Zod from Superman 2.
Hmm.
The movie opens with
Hmm.
Hellwart walking in very cool with Jack or
Hmm.
Cowboy because He's
I
referred
referred
to as both
I
in the
referred to him as Cowboy Jack throughout because I liked that, and that's what he wanted to be called.
Yes,
So,
exactly. So you were doing right by him by
mhm.
calling him Cowboy Jack. He's played by M.K. Harris. And I'm going
Okay.
to say this right off the bat. He's my favorite part of this movie. He's funny, he's brutal, and he's kind of a great friend, even though he's not at the same time.
He's a complicated
He
character.
really is,
Hmm.
and I think that's why I like him a lot. But anyway, so the movie opens up with Cowboy Jack and Hellwart walking through a like some sort of warehouse, abandoned warehouse. This loser's being dragged and tied to a chair, and you basically see that Hellwart isn't screwing around.
So he actually tells his henchman. His
Oh yeah,
henchman lights up a cigarette, and then he's like, "Smoking's bad for your health." And then he asks the poor guy that's sitting in the chair, and goes, "Are you a smoker?" And the guy says, "No." And then he says, "Good, you'll live longer."
just
And then
blows him away.
blows his brains out, like up on the wall.
Are you a smoker? No, sir. Good. You'll live longer.
It immediately establishes Terrence Stamp as just like cutthroat, evil, but also kind of like whimsical, I guess.
He's kind of like a Frank Booth character.
Definitely.
He's a villain that
Definitely.
you just he can be chill and then you don't know when he's going to go off.
Every conversation that either Henry has with Hellwart or Cowboy Jack, it's just they're all unhinged.
Hmm.
Like he's got some weird shit going on.
Yeah,
And
whenever he calls anybody in, they're like, "Oh fuck,
oh
what's
my
going to
God.
happen? What's going to happen?"
Henry is down on his luck. He's losing at the track constantly. He has this friend, Cowboy Jack, who's working for Terrence Stamp or Hellward. Also, Cowboy Jack is the guy that got him in trouble, like with the law.
Yeah, to begin with, and now he's dragging him back into the unsavory side of business on the street.
Right.
It's time to grow up. Stop farting around and do some honest work. Not that what I'm talking about is all that honest, but it's a whole lot more dependable than the ponies.
We get a view into Henry's life, and it is real pathetic. Like he lives above a bar. Um, he has an ashtray right next to his bed.
Hmm.
And I was just like, man, that room smells like shit. It cannot smell good because he's just constantly drinking. He's constantly smoking. I never see him eat. So he's living this very loser lifestyle but he's looking real great while doing it.
He reminds me of like a young Christian Slater in this
Yes.
film,
Yes.
especially with his hair, like the way that his
Exactly.
hair falls. Like he reminds me of him quite a bit.
Peter Berg's pretty great. He's also a director.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
he's made quite a few films. He was also in the movie Shocker. Do you remember Shocker?
Oh, is that Wes Craven?
Yes, it was
Yeah, yeah.
so it was like the guy who gets electrocuted and then he becomes pure
Hmm.
electricity.
Yeah.
And Peter Berg is like this teenager that has to fight him. And I loved that, but he directed the movie Battleship,
Okay.
the movie based on the game Battleship.
I remember that being a thing. Yes. I'm sure he got a big fat paycheck for it.
Oh
So,
my God. I'm sure he's doing great. So he hangs out with his buddy, Cowboy Jack, and they hang out at bars and
well, I think it's important to not skip over the fact that the cowboy portion of Cowboy Jack is a self-appointed
yes,
nickname that like
glad you brought that up.
most people just call him Jack, but he's like very insistent his name is Cowboy Jack.
Yeah, they have a conversation about like, yeah, you can't give yourself a nickname. Like people give you nicknames. So he talks to Henry and he's like, hey, I mean, it's not gonna be bad. You're just gonna, you're just delivering money or picking up money and there's no violence.
But yeah, poor Henry's in a bind because he owes what was it like 1400. He has $0 and he owes 1400 currently, and has no way of getting it, so he really doesn't have many options.
And he keeps betting on horses. Like,
Yeah,
so it's
horses like T-bone steak dinner.
Henry, after a little nudging and pushing, he decides, yeah, I'll be a collections guy and I'll work with you. Henry and Cowboy Jack go on their first gig or their first job, and Cowboy Jack is very aggressive and he's like, "Where's the fucking money?"
Mm-hmm.
Immediately, Cowboy Jack gets his guns out. There's bullets flying pretty soon because I think it's two brothers. They look like brothers anyway, these
Mm-hmm.
two guys. And one guy goes and gets a shotgun, and Cowboy Jack shoots one of the guys, and then there's like a very weird shootout between Henry and the other brother.
Hey! Hey, listen, mister, I'm not trying to hurt you. You all right?
Maybe Henry just killed somebody. We don't know. The movie doesn't care. So should we? No.
No.
Oh, one thing I forgot to mention, he's given a beeper.
Oh, that's right.
There is
Yes.
a lot of beeper in this
Mm-hmm.
movie. This movie is very beeper heavy. When we meet the girl, because she's never given a name in the movie
I noticed that.
or in
Yeah.
the credits. When we meet her, she also has a beeper. So there's a lot of beeping going off.
I've got to use your telephone. Where's your telephone? I need your telephone.
I'm not sure if the girl came first or second, but she shows up twice.
Yeah, I
In
think
the
this is the
car.
second time. The first time she showed up, he's like, buys her a drink, and then he's like, I got a place upstairs. We can continue drinking up there. And she says, I imagine your drinks are cheaper. So
Mhm.
it's weird because you can see the sparks start flying when she
Kind of.
says, I don't do anything I don't want to. And then he's like, yes, you do. And starts kissing on her. And yeah, but then her pager goes off.
Yes.
So
Right.
then, okay, she has to leave. But then, yeah, then the whole job with Cowboy Jack happens. And then she comes back. This part, she comes back to the bar.
Yes. And
And
this
then he,
time her beeper does not go off.
no. And she
Yes.
invites herself up to his room.
After the lovemaking and everything, uh, Henry just goes through her purse because who that's
Yeah.
our Henry.
Yeah, that's Henry.
And he finds a letter that's addressed to Hellwart.
Mhm.
So of course he's very suspicious. No, I just wanted somewhere I could relax. It's such a coincidence that I'm also dating Hellwart. As soon as she said that, I was like,
Mhm.
this is so dumb, man. This is Henry's just making one dumb decision after another in this movie. And I wanted to be so angry at him, but at the same time, it kind of humanized him in a weird way
Mhm.
because he just keeps making the wrong decisions. That
Yeah,
that's
even though he's clearly like in his 20s, he definitely seems like a dumb teenage kid.
he knows now that she kind of belongs to uh Hellwart, and he's
Mhm.
a very like not cool guy to her. He's very abusive and he's very like jealous and he's constantly watching her. He doesn't have money, so he has to do another job.
Mhm.
And so he goes, I think, by himself the second time, right?
Yes, because this is where Sid Haig pops up,
Oh,
right?
yeah. So Henry goes to collect at like some house, and Sid Haig is there. He's one of, I guess, an employee of Hellwart, and he's just picking up money.
Hmm.
But he sees playing at the table, he sees the jockey that lost him a crap load of money recently. Henry sees him at the table. He confronts him. He's like, so you definitely threw that race, right? Like, that's just what's up. He's like, no, the horse was sleepy. And he's like, no, you threw that race. And being stupid again, all he had to do was pick up this money. But being stupid again, he's just like, he picks a fight with this jockey and
Mhm.
immediately just gets his butt handed to him again.
Thanks, Curly. Thanks, Curly. Hey, man, you're stupid, man. You come here, you told me in front of my friends bad for my reputation.
And then he goes outside, gets kicked outside, and then he shoots out the jockey's car. And
Yes.
then they come after him and start shooting at him again. And yeah, our poor boy Henry, he's making some poor decisions.
So stupid.
At this point, is this the point where he goes to Hellwart's house with
Oh, yes. Yes.
with
So
his
he's supposed to drop the money off
yeah.
at Hellwart's house, but Hellwart's not home.
But you know who is?
The girl that
Oh
is
yeah.
never given a name throughout the entire movie. And she like points a gun at him. And he's like, "Bang, I got you," which is really fucked up if you think about it,
Mhm.
because of all the fucked up things that he's just been through recently, and then she's pointing a gun at him. It's just he asks for a tour of Hellwart's house, and it looks like a nice house. It's pretty big, and she brings him into a room, and then there's another.
See, this sex scene, it felt real, but it felt much more awkward. Like he was on the edge of the bed and his feet start out on the floor, but then his feet end up like 2 inches off the floor. So like when he's thrusting, there's not really much behind it. And it was a very interesting sex scene. It felt real because it felt
Yeah,
kind of clumsy and but um yeah, that one was not as I feel like not as smooth as his previous.
two idiots making love, Uh, and so they fool around stupidly again because she never says, "Oh, he's coming back this time." Oh, yada yada
Mhm.
yada. But he's just like, "Well, I'm here to fuck." Then the next day he wakes up just just waltzing around Hellwart's house, no shit
Shirtless.
on,
Yeah.
gets himself a bottle of whiskey. He's drinking it and he's looking through the records and he
Mhm.
finds this is something that was mentioned earlier.
Oh yeah.
He finds a record with Hellwart's face on it, and it says Paul Blaze.
Yep.
And Cowboy Jack had mentioned earlier in the movie that there are a lot of rumors about Hellwart, that he was this, he was that, but one of the rumors was that he was a teenage pop star. We completely
Yeah.
glossed over their first meeting.
Yeah, because Hellward, I wrote some phrases down.
So let's go back.
Yeah, you
When
yes. Go
first
ahead.
when uh, Cowboy Jack introduces Henry to Hellwart, they're in a they're in a limo together, and Hellwart is immediately like, "This guy's a loser. You're wasting my time." Uh, and he says some other really. He basically taunts Henry throughout this
Mm-hmm.
entire interview, and he's
Mm-hmm.
like the funniest thing that he says to him. He asks him if he went to prison, right?
Yeah.
And he says something really dark to him. He's like,
Blood on my blade or shit on my dick.
"Oh my God.
Which I was like, I don't know if you can say that, man.
Oh my
Jesus.
God."
Imagine having three motherfuckers come into your cell all carrying blades and tell you, blood on my knife or shit on my dick.
But then he starts daydreaming and he starts singing a song. And then like this is the Frank Booth portion, like the Frank Booth comparison I was talking about, because he starts like singing the song and then he just stares Henry down and he goes, "Don't fuck with me or I'll fuck you deep."
He ends up saying something else. This is way down the line,
Mhm.
but he ends up saying, "Oh, Jack, your friend Henry is screwing my bitch."
Oh, Jack. Your friend Henry is screwing my bitch.
And I was like, "Oh my God, that should not, none of those words sounded right in Terrence Stamp's dialect. But anyway, so either way, they clearly Hellwart doesn't really trust Henry, and why would you? He's basically what it seems like is he's kind of putting Henry in situations where he's gonna fuck his girlfriend.
Hmm.
Like basically providing the the situation like yeah, deliver the money to my house. I'm not going to be there until maybe the next day, but I am going to
Hmm.
send Jack to make sure that nothing bad is
Hmm.
happening. So Jack is there when he wakes up in the morning and has a whiskey, and he's like, what are you doing, man? You shouldn't be doing this. And
Hmm.
Henry is just like, I'm doing it. And that's it. Like
Yep.
Jack is even like, let's get out of here, man. Let's go. And he's like, I'm not finished. I'm like, oh my God. Okay.
But then, yeah, he gets to have his fun, and then his next assignment is a little unnerving for him because he's assigned to be Hellwart's bodyguard.
Yes, his personal bodyguard.
Hmm.
And before that assignment happens, there is the talk between um the girl and
Hmm.
Henry. And this is right after Henry leaves the house, and then Hellwart comes back. And he's like, hello, honey. How has everything gone? He's got those eyes. They're like, I
Hmm.
know what the fuck's been going on. And then
Hmm.
he slaps her like in the face. And he's like, clearly he said some bad stuff to her because she calls up Henry and she's like, you gotta, you gotta help me out. Like, you got to, something is gonna happen. And I need you. He's gonna ask you to be his bodyguard. And basically, all I need you to do is nothing.
Oh yeah.
Just don't do anything, and then everything will be taken care of. It's all good. And so clearly, she is the femme fatale of this movie.
Hmm.
Hello?
Henry, listen. You're going to be Paul's bodyguard today. There's going to be trouble. But all you've got to do is stay out of it. Understand?
Yeah.
I love you.
There's a very funny scene where Henry is being Hellwart's bodyguard, and they're walking out of the car, and Hellwart's like, "Don't lag behind, Henry," and he's like, "Yeah, whatever, whatever," just being cool. And then you see Terrence Stamp's face for a second. He's like, "Asshole." I'm like,
Don't lag behind, Henry.
why do you trust this guy? Why did you hire this guy? What?
I think what it is he trusts Cowboy Jack so much,
Okay.
and he knows Cowboy Jack recommended this guy, so he's going to give him a shot. But also, I also think in the back of his mind, he's like, I wouldn't mind blowing the brains out of someone else too. So
Exactly, like that's his kink.
yeah, I think he was just like, well, whatever. If this guy doesn't work out, I'll just shoot him in a warehouse.
So we don't really know anything about the guy he shoots in the warehouse at the beginning of the movie, but I'm
Hmm.
pretty sure that guy probably slept with his girlfriend too, and
Probably.
probably was maybe about to kill him.
Hmm.
So how many guys has this happened to? Did he just hire another guy? She sleeps with him. He shoots him. I don't know how many times this has happened before Henry shows up. But I want to go back to how good I thought MK Harris did in
Hmm.
this movie. He's so chill, and he's so cool throughout the whole movie. And
He
I
never doubts
really
himself. Yeah.
no, not at all. Not for a minute. He has that long, like silky hair, and he always wears these long jackets. He's just so cool. And even when Henry is yelling at him, he's still like, no, man, we're friends, we're buddies.
Hmm.
And I just liked him a lot. He made this movie for me.
There's a lot you don't understand. And you put my ass on the line over some chick. Besides, Who would do that for you?
And I don't want to give too much away because I do want people to see this movie, but there is a insane car crash, I guess, but one of the
Oh,
cars
oh yeah.
makes it out like unscathed at all.
Mhm.
Um, Basically, one car drives over another car and no one is killed. But I do want to talk about, in general, what did you think of the movie?
Well, as I said up top, I kind of tied with Circuitry Man for my favorite. I
Okay.
think I think Circuitry Man might edge or just get into that first place position just because of all of the crazy effects and all that. But I agree with you. I really liked. I mean, Cowboy Jack was kind of a scumbag character, but a likable scumbag.
Mhm.
Um, Paul Hellwert is just like I said before. I compare him to Frank Booth. He's just a
Yes.
very intimidating presence on the screen. And he kind of looks a little bit like I was getting some of his facial expressions give me like Udo Kier vibes.
Oh yeah, totally. I can see that because
Yeah.
it's that kind of like expression without expression.
Yeah, his eyes.
It's
His
very
eyes are
much
definitely, yeah, they remind me of Udo Kier.
it's very much more less is more,
Hmm.
with him. And I kind of felt halfway between he was kind of phoning it in and he was just doing a thing.
Let's see if you got what it takes. Yeah. You just tighten your finger and pull the trigger.
Because he doesn't really it's very, monotone. He doesn't like yell at all.
I
Well, when he
100 I 100% took it as like that was him just giving no fucks because he's like, whatever. Nobody can do shit to me. If anybody tries anything, I'll just have them shot. Like he just that kind of seemed like his attitude, but he would put it in more eloquent, artistic terms and use this poetic, flowery language to tell people he's gonna fuck them.
general, it had that kind of early 90s noir, neo-noir feel to it. The gambling was kind of, a subplot that
Mhm.
wasn't too well dived into, but it was really just such a very simple story,
Mhm.
with not a lot happening, but it was still fairly interesting.
Yeah, I was a little nervous going into it because I thought when I saw the cover and the name and everything, I'm like, okay, this is gonna be like an erotic thriller. So there's just
That's
gonna
what it's labeled as.
yeah, and for an erotic thriller, there's not a ton of fucking in it, which I'm okay with. I mean I'd rather get the character development and get the really good one-liners and get the action along with the erotic stuff.
Like I said, it was like a good crime film, which I guess Kurt Voss just kind of that's what he specialized in because he also did Highway Hitcher. Um, he did Poison Ivy 3, The Seduction.
I didn't know there were any more than the first one, but
Exactly.
okay.
I would say if you want a jazzy neo-noir film that you can get into and maybe have a scotch, chain smoke while you're watching if you need to. You probably shouldn't because it's bad for your health.
Yeah.
It's fine for what it is. I don't know if it's like a must watch.
It would be a good group view though. I think get
Yeah,
a few friends over and yeah.
put on a jazz record.
Yeah. Watch Genuine Risk.
Blood on my knife or shit on my dick.
It's something you can talk during, like you can kind of talk with others during the slower parts, but even I don't know though, because even the slow parts have some magic in them. So there's just the writing is pretty good.
So there you have it. There is yet another IRS film done and dusted. Josh, thank you again for joining me for another review of IRS films.
My pleasure.